Vincent. Vincent. I'm on the intercom.
Where is the intercom?
It's on.
Why was Pulp Fiction so popular?
Great vengeance and furious anger, those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers.
You know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Paris?
What do they call it?
Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
Hello. Today we'll be exploring the immense popularity of the first independent film to reach over $200 million of its time in the blockbuster. It is seen as the change of modern cinema as we see it today. It was created by none other than a high school dropout who worked in a video store and is seen as a film nerd. It is none other than Quentin Tarantino himself. It is seen as the resuscitation of John Travolta's career, as well as the new and shining spotlight that was put upon Samuel Jackson.
I'm Superfly TNT. I'm the Guns of the Navarone. In fact, what the fuck?
Uma Thurman, Bruce Willis, Christopher Walken, Harvey Keitel. I mean, the list goes on. The cast list is impeccable. Impeccable. I can't exaggerate it enough. But why was this culture phenomenon of a film so popular? Was it because of the cast? Was it because of the aesthetics of the 50s that was displayed during the film? Was it maybe the music that Quentin had? Because he does say that music goes hand in hand when it comes to films. Or was it the violence? Because he also says that violence is one of the most fun things to watch in cinema.
I got into this thing with the best intentions, really. I never...
Or maybe it was Samuel Jackson.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time.
He's black.
Go on.
He's bald.
Does he look like a bitch?
What?
We will explore these elements, but Quentin has this final quote that I'll leave with you for this intro. If you love movies enough, you can make a good one. Well, let's bring this story a little bit of light, and a bit of background information, if we will. Tarantino had spent his time in Amsterdam of the summers of 1992, where he was writing up the monster we all know as Pulp Fiction. He also produced and directed in the same year Reservoir Dogs that he had written previously. He was writing in a dozen different notebooks, school books in that matter, and let's just say his handwriting was atrocious. No one could identify what he was saying or what he was writing about. And he has this friend called Linda Chen, who was a typist at the time. And Linda Chen was actually one of the persons who typed out all his handwriting and made it into a proper script as a first draft, if you will. And he was averaging about 9,000 grammatical errors per page, which is pretty impressive, I'm not gonna lie, as well as his films. She then became one of the photographers later in the film, which is very kind of him to do. You know, it's the least he can do. The film then released on October the 4th, 1994, and was made for $8.5 million. Los Angeles Times calls it the most influential film of the 90s. Robert Edward calls it the first film to break all the rules. He basically recycles 3 stories and mushes it and compacts it into one beautiful mess. The stories are so basic as well. He has the boxer who has to throw the fight, but then he doesn't. He has the mobster who has to take the boss's wife out for dinner, and he ends up having a little dance with her.
You could see that Pierre did truly love the mademoiselle.
And then of course you got the 2 classic hitmen that have to kill a guy. Somehow he makes this all work into one film. And his favorite quote, and I'll remind it, is that A movie can have a start and a finish, but where the movie starts and finishes doesn't matter, and that's what makes it a good film. Why was this film so popular? What made this film so spoken of and so highly spoken about to this day? Well, if we look at the period of when the film first came out, in 1994, the same year Pulp Fiction was released, Nelson Mandela actually casted his first vote in the South African general election, to which he became our president and also ended the apartheid. The 90s also experienced some economic challenges, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, culture shifts with alternative rock, and high crime gang violence in the United States. But however, 90s was innovative. Innovative in terms of South Africa. A new South Africa was there. There was a spread of democracy, advancements in science, as well as the bloody internet. The internet, my gosh. Even if we look at how films were made back then, Pulp Fiction stood out because it was innovative. Pulp Fiction was shot on an adrenaline plunge that went straight into the hearts of the audiences, thanks to several famous scenes, such as...
This has been without a doubt the single weirdest fucking day of my life. Come on, hop on, I'll tell you all about it. Come on, get on. Gotta go, come on.
Whose motorcycle is this?
It's a chopper, baby.
Whose chopper is this?
Zed's.
Who's Zed?
Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead.
As well as its non-linear narrative structure. It was an unconventional technique that was made by Quentin Tarantino and made the film so complex that it was so rewatchable because no one's ever seen something like this before. The stories intertwine and allow the audience to be drawn in, and as well as for the action to come up, to release, and then to go on to the next story. So therefore his structure at which the action was showcased didn't go up like your conventional action film. It went up, down, taking the audience through all sorts of roller coasters, which made the film so interesting to watch. The bright colors of shifting color palettes, the combination of black and whites in terms of the outfits that made the characters stand out in the backgrounds. The constant use of red throughout the film, highlighting revenge, vengeance, alongside with the violent world that is surrounded by it. The upbeat music that used in the golden classics, Tarantino prepares the audience for active energy of the film, especially in the first start of the film, with addition to the nonchalant attitude towards the violence, amplifies and further expands the humor of these films' characters. The film has won many awards and has seen as Tarantino's best work. The style had been copied by people and films such as Buffalo 66, to which people even quoted and said, "Oh, that's such a Quentin Tarantino finish of a film." I can't brag this up enough. Lust is shown in this film, and it is funny as it is dazzling. The romance brings these characters to high emotional states, to which amplifies the consequences of their actions within the film.
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot to add in an intro for this part, but I'm doing it now. So moving on, we're looking at the interviews that took place in the AVDA campus and observatory. Hope you enjoy. My man, thank you so much for doing this interview. And what is your name to the camera?
It's Munashe.
Ah, my good friend.
Pally.
AB.
Yeah, you done? I'm good.
Tato, nice to meet you.
Also known as T-Dog, right?
Yeah, T-Dog.
Jennifer, hi.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Joined by these beautiful ladies. What's your name?
Alexis Engelbrecht.
Awesome.
Rari.
Kayla, thank you so much for doing this interview and taking your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Listen, I wanted to ask you, remember what rhymes with non-fiction?
Pulp Fiction.
How do you know that name?
It was a 90s movies directed by, I don't know, Quentin Tarantino.
Are you talking about, did he do Pulp Fiction?
Yes, he did.
He did Pulp Fiction?
He did. He made...
Reservoir Dogs? Quentin Tarantino.
Correct. What was the one particular film that was peng?
Pulp Fiction?
Oh, well done,
Okay.
well done. Has fiction in the name.
Fiction.
Fiction.
Made in the night.
Sorry?
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp
Fiction.
Yes. What did you? What?
Pulp Fiction?
Yes. You know Pulp Fiction?
Yeah. But I haven't watched it.
Far out. All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Tell me, do you know much about it?
Well, actually, we did our presentation on it this term, but could I tell you about it? No. All I know is that there's something to do with the suitcase and a really pretty girl who's on a poster of a friend's bedroom and all that jazz.
Bruce Willis. Yeah.
Have you watched the film before?
I've watched the film before.
Can I ask you what was your favorite part about the film?
My favorite part, the actor took the guy's wife out for dinner.
Yeah. That's yes. I know you talk about.
Yes, he took her out for dinner and they were just talking about whether she wanted to be an actress or not, and like they started dancing. So yeah, that's what I have liked.
I'd say that's probably my favorite part of the film too. The little. Can you show us a quick move? just to...
I don't know, like.
Oh, that's like what emotional relevance do you have to the film? What do you like about it?
I myself have, like, you're asking how I emotionally relate to Pulp Fiction.
That's what I just asked. Yes.
Huh. Well, personally, I have no relation whatsoever to Pulp Fiction. It's a movie about gangsters who eat cheeseburgers. However, these gangsters are really funny sometimes. And, you know, they do cool things and cool things happen around them. And that's why I like the movie.
Listen, I wanted to ask you, what did you enjoy about that film in particular? If you can remember.
I enjoy the cross-cutting between 3 different narratives. That was probably the coolest thing I enjoyed.
That's very interesting you say that. So why do you think that was so enjoyable? Because it was so...
Because I think a lot of narratives just focus on one narrative, one storyline, and it's really interesting when 3 different narratives wind together to kind of complement each other's character arcs and stuff. It's really, really cool.
Have you seen the film?
No, but when I was doing what were we doing? Oh, when I was in Station 1 for one of my DPPs, I had to like get color inspiration from a film, and I chose Pulp Fiction because of the black, yellow, blue and brown colors, and then I had to do a bit of research of the color scheme of Pulp Fiction, and that's how I came to find the film of it.
You haven't heard of it?
At all.
Okay, so that film, Pulp Fiction, actually writers say that it brought Samuel Jackson's career to light, actually.
Yeah, no, properly.
So it's interesting you said that.
I actually watched a YouTube video on it as well, and it was speaking how it's essentially his magnum opus. That when it came out, the techniques that he used within the film, everybody then tried to replicate but could never get it to the way that it was for Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
Have you heard much about it?
Yes, I have. I've heard. I know that it's a cult classic, and it's got some risque themes going on, something of the sort. But I know that a lot of indie, pretentious people like to call it their favorite film.
That's interesting.
That's what I hear.
Why do you think it's so popular?
Like the cinematography and the dialogue and the can I swear? I'm not gonna swear.
You can swear.
And the shit's like that. Like just things of that nature. I suppose there is some merit to it, because why else would it be that popular, you know?
Why do you think the film was so popular, even though you said the non-linear type of script?
I think the reason the film is so popular is because Pulp Fiction is it's a real testament to like the United States in that time. It is very testament to pop culture in the 90s, 80s, that kind of style, 70s even. I mean, if you just think about that one where they're dancing in that diner, I mean, the diner is literally themed as like an American pop culture kind of thing. You've got the waiters dressed like Marilyn Monroe and the cars and stuff. So it's a very culturally significant film. I think
of that time.
That time period, I think it's really culturally significant, and I think it's a good representation of like American culture during those days.
Why do you think it's so popular?
Probably because it's experimental. Nothing like it had been seen at the time in the 90s. You know, it was very new, very fresh.
Would you say that's because of the non-linear script, the fact that they would jump between different characters
Yeah, I would say it's that. Like, you get these tiny stories in the middle of this big movie, and also if you watch it as a whole, it's good. If you watch just those bits, it's also good.
Just out of the blue, why would you think it's so popular?
It's actually a very good question. I think Pulp Fiction, the way it was written, had a lot of depth to it, right? So I think of the term world building. I think fantasy does it really well, that everything, although you might not necessarily understand what it is, has value towards the world itself.
Why do you think it's so popular, may I ask?
I think just like as any other 90s film is still popular in like 2024, most of the time it's because of the iconic lines, like the movie Clueless, or because it's pop culturally relevant to a lot of people.
Pop culture in our society. Maybe in the society back then in the 90s, so pop culture.
Do you think Quentin Tarantino basically introduced some really good elements that reminded them of that time frame?
Yeah, of course.
Pulp Fiction had a very strong message in terms of what it was trying to showcase.
Yes,
that's why it's so popular.
But I think we naturally, as an industry, have stunts in where we value certain things. Does that make sense? And so maybe in the early 2000s, we valued family, and we valued, like, this man, The Rock, was...
So the time frame, like you're saying, it was really relevant in the 90s, that film.
Yes, it was extremely relevant, but it was also extremely, like... needed in... I think sometimes the films that we need aren't necessarily the films that we think about, you know?
Yeah, but I genuinely haven't watched it, and I'm not going to.
That's good.
I'm not going to watch it.
All right.
I'm not going to watch it. Not once, not ever.
What was your favorite line from the film, if you can remember? Or what was your favorite part?
Royale with cheese. Royale with cheese.
Thank you so much, Vanasha.
Of course. Pulp Fiction and stuff.
Cool.
Oh! To round off this video, I feel that the film was so popular because of one, it was a mark that represented the 90s. It was innovative, it was new, it showed graphic violence and told a story that hadn't been told before. It was a risk, and risks either fail or they work and succeed and do wonders, and this risk did very well. It captures the essence of the 50s, tells the story of romance, all while someone's head gets blown off.
Oh, what the fuck's happening? Oh, man.
Shit, man. Oh, man, I shot Marvin in the face.
Why the fuck you do that?
Well, I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident.
It's a true classic that stands its time, and it is a mark of how one can tell a story. There is a start and there is a finish, and I cannot stress this enough. Doesn't matter where you start or finish, as long as the film finishes and isn't like The Irishman and is 3 hours fucking long.